the last 7 days, there have been national elections in Canada, in Australia, and in the United Kingdom. Isn't that interesting? The Anglo sphere goes to vote. And in 2 out of those 3 countries, the conservative-leaning parties were given a drubbing. Yes, I know there's reasons to find a silver lining in Canada's result, but still, 6 months ago, the Conservatives had a 20-point lead. Why did Nigel Farage and his Reform UK party manage to punch through? Not just in the by-election that I attended in Runcorn and in the north of England, but also in hundreds of local council seats. Reform Party swept the table, dispatching both the incumbent Labour government and the Conservative Party, the traditional alternative to Labour. How did that happen in the UK, but not in Canada or Australia? How did Nigel Farage, who warmly embraced Donald Trump, in fact, you may recall Nigel Farage actually introduced Trump at rallies in the United States. He couldn't have been closer to him. How did he survive any backlash? Whereas in Australia and Canada, the Conservative Party seemed to be set back by their affiliations or perceived affiliations with Trump. Joining us now to talk about the UK results is our friend David Atherton, a columnist, activist, and a deep thinker. David, how you doing?
You're far too kind, Ezra. I'm very well. What about yourself?
Well, I'm okay. I had the pleasure of being up in Runcorn and Farage and all the interesting places. They're classic UK names. It's a lovely part of the world. 53% Labour in the last election, like an enormous vote for Labour. Yeah. And now the Reform UK wins it just by 6 votes, mind you. But a win is a win. I was focused on that by-election, but I think the bigger story was hundreds of town council seats across the country went for Reform UK. How did he do it? How did Nigel Farage do it? He didn't have the media on side. He didn't have I don't think he had the grassroots door-knocking brigades that Labour had. So how did Nigel Farage and his Reform UK win?
Right, okay. Well, where do we pick up the thread on that one? Let me just make a theoretical comment first of all. Runcorn, on the by-election, Runcorn is, depending on the way you work it out, is the 16th or 17th safest seat. Currently at the moment, Labour have got 400, side off with the 411 seats in the Parliament. And theoretically, if that result was repeated nationwide, it would go down from 411 to 15. They would only have 15 MPs ever elected. But to answer directly your question on why Reform did so well, the Reform Party had a perfect storm of dissent. Whenever the Conservative Party makes a comment on any Labour Party policy, the governmental policy, it's simply a case of you had 14 years in government to fix these problems. Yeah. So whether it's immigration or whether it's the economy, the Conservative Party is not trusted. It's thought to be full. I'm trying to think the right word without swearing, but it's full of themselves, shall we say? Let's put it this way. And no one believes the Conservative Party that they can deliver because they completely failed when they were in power. And the Labour Party and Sir Keir Starmer is probably the most loathed, hated, disliked Prime Minister of all time. He just sits there telling barefaced lies after barefaced lies. And whenever you see him on the TV, he never, ever answers the question. He just off pat bangs on about what he hopes he's going to do and what he might try to do. And believe you me, there is bitter resentment at the Labour Party. For example, whether it's the grooming gangs, and whether it's the savage sentences that people got at the end of the Southport riots. Someone deleted it. All right, it wasn't a very, very good tweet, should we say, but they deleted it 3 to 4 hours after they wrote it. And the lady, Lucy Connolly, was given 31 months in prison for a tweet that she deleted after 4 hours on second thought.
That was interesting to me because you had these people who were sentenced to 2 or almost 3 years in prison for a caustic tweet. And whereas the local Labour MP in Runcorn, the reason there was a by-election is because he was caught on tape beating the daylights out of a constituent. He served just 2 days in prison before the judge commuted his sentence, really. So 2 days.
Well, indeed, yeah.
For pounding a guy. Go ahead.
Yeah, there's a guy called Ricky Jones, who at the time of the riots was seen apparently, allegedly, drawing his finger across his throat. And, a year later, he still hasn't gone to trial. He got to the magistrate's court, but he still hasn't appeared in the Crown Court,
a lot of people who are politically active or are very online follow that kind of thing. But when I was in Runcorn, I was only there for a day or so. I just went on the street. I don't know if you saw it in my video. I just went on the main street in Farage, and I asked everyone who would talk to me, what's important to you? What's the issue? Who's going to win? And whether it was Reform or Labor, everyone was talking about the illegal migrants. In fact, my most interesting conversation was with a Labor voter who said she voted Labor, sort of out of tradition, but then for the next 5 minutes, she was complaining about the problems of Labor, including people getting in dinghies and sailing across from France. So I think that, I don't know, I just think immigration is such a huge issue in the UK because it's shorthand for crime, high property prices, cultural quarrels in the street, whether it's Hamas protesters or sectarian violence, but Hindu versus Sikh. So I think immigration, and every party has been so afraid to talk about it. Frankly, Nigel Farage has been a little bit afraid to talk about it too, but he's embraced it. I mean, I looked at the campaign literature. The number one point, he said, freeze immigration and stop the boats. That's probably what 10 people, they used word for word what they said to me on the street in Frodsham.
Sure, indeed, yeah. Even the Green Party, the dripping wet Green Party, wants to see illegals deported and immigration stopped. I should say Green voters, I should say. It's 58%. When you got sort of the middle class, and also Labour voters are very similar as well. Your traditional Labour, most of the migrants after they've been processed and go to a hotel are given houses and property in Labour areas. They have to put up with crime, the antisocial behaviour, having their daughters photographed just outside school, and they're sort of sexually harassed on the street as well. What's your number? You're nice. Can I touch you? Sort of type thing. And there's also been some empirical evidence that's come out based on police forces and local government data, which confirms that migrants are disproportionately involved in crime and particularly sexual crime, by a factor of 3.5 times more in one paper that was done by Migration Control. So and people don't have to go too far from social media. When there's a photograph of a migrant, those people got their sort of TikTok video out. They show him with his camera in his hand taking a photograph of kids. He's shooed away by adults. People know it is a national problem, and and where it also comes back to, old age pensioners used to get a £300, $400 annual allowance towards their heating bills, and Labour scrapped that. It was only £300. Britain has the highest energy prices in the world, bar none. I know the comparison is with America. Is we pay 4 times per head for our electricity and gas, 4 times. So if you've got $100 a month bill in Canada or America, it will cost you $400 in Britain. And the fact that migrants live in these literally 4-star, they're very well equipped, very well appointed hotels, and they get 3 meals a day. They get snacks. Many work illegally as Deliveroo type drivers, and some of them $500. There's a report that came out today, undercover investigation of the Telegraph. These people earn £500 a week, £2,000 a month, and they use that to pay off. Some of them use some of the money to pay off the people who traffic them over here. Yeah. It's completely outrageous what's going on, and we've got a weak, pathetic government, aided and abetted by a woke civil service which is allowing this to happen all the time.
Let's face it, Canada's economy isn't heading in the right direction. Inflation's eating away your savings, and government debt is out of control. No politician is going to fix that overnight. With Guildhall Wealth, you can hold real physical gold and silver inside your RRSP. It's a time-tested way to protect your retirement and take back control of your wealth. Call 1-877-8-SILVER or visit guildhallwealth.com/rebel to request your free investor kit. And hey, make sure to mention Rebel News.